Now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back to the Pick and Good podcast, everyone. Thanks for joining us once again as we get ready to get stuck into week 2 of Super Rugby Pacific and a bit of Six Nations, of course. Much like plenty of the All Blacks will be trotting out on the park this week, we're pleased to welcome back the full squad for this episode. Richard, Laddie, welcome back to the pod. How have you been, mate?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, had a week off in lovely Foxton Beach. Recommend it if anyone's after a quiet getaway. But yeah, back to ready to talk about Super Rugby. What a great, exciting weekend we had, and there's plenty more to come.
Absolutely. And Paul Moati, how have you been?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, boys. Tried out a few golf courses in Christchurch and a few bakeries, to be fair. And a pub or two.
That sounds about right. Was how are the locals feeling about their rugby team down there? Are they up and about or grumbling about different things?
It seemed a wee bit sort of underwhelming, I guess. There wasn't a lot of chat going on. Well, not with who I was talking to. So, I don't know. Maybe they're just building slowly and they'll wait until the playoffs.
Right. No, we might as well get straight into it then. We'll have a quick look back at week 1 of Super Rugby Pacific. Obviously, you two weren't here to preview it last week, but me and Carl were pretty keen on both underdogs. I thought I was a chance at a couple of backdoor covers late in both New Zealand games, but couldn't quite get the job done. What was one thing you think you noticed, or you think we can take some learnings from, as you like to say, Paul, from week 1 of Super Rugby Pacific?
I guess the New Zealand teams are going to bash each other, and there are going to be some very, very competitive games. The one team that really surprised me were the Force. I thought they played really, really well, deserved the win, but once again, you've got to play 80 minutes against the Brumbies, and they got out of jail big time. But I did enjoy the way the Force approached that game. They gave the ball a wee bit of the air. The forwards weren't the worst either. So, yeah, I really did enjoy that. I thought the Force game was great, but the 2 New Zealand games I thought were very, very competitive. Yeah, you could argue a refereeing decision here or a TMO decision here or there. Don't start me, Richie.
Wondering how long it would take for that to be brought up.
Were you one of the ones in the Facebook comments at 9:30 on Saturday night?
How was Artie Severe's try taken away? Fair dinkum. That is ridiculous. It's sometimes they're looking for things. They're looking for reasons not to award a try, as opposed to looking for reasons to award it. That was a great try.
It was certainly a great run, but you can't legally call it a try. I don't want to.
I just called it a try.
Right, we'll send that to New Zealand Rugby. But how about you, Richard? What are your takeaways from last weekend?
It was more just the question of what the Crusaders are going to do with Lester Flaganuku, because my goodness,
$12 Crusaders top try scorer.
Yeah, I remember I couldn't actually remember the price I was going to ask, because I see he's starting again this week, and I think that the back third they've got this week is the best 3.
Yeah.
He probably does. I mean, he probably adds more impact off the bench than what George Bridge would, and he can play centre. But yeah, I mean, he's just getting better and better. We saw what he was capable of last year in both Super Rugby. That try he scored. Was it? I can't remember who that was against. That crazy one in the corner.
Chiefs, I think it was. Yeah,
and then obviously an NPC. But yeah, I mean, I think that he needs to be starting, and I would not surprised to see him as a All Black bolter come sort of June when those Ireland tests are, or if those Ireland tests go ahead. But it was there, and then I also it was just probably the importance of Sam Cane and Brodie Retallick for the Chiefs. I thought they both had great games. That offload from Retallick was just that's what you love to see. It's what he's so good at. So I was really impressed with the Chiefs. They just played a sort of pretty complete game and controlled the game really well. And those two really stepped up. So if the Chiefs are to, we're all pretty high on them. I think that if they are to sort of make that final, that those two will, the importance of them being in form and fit. Yeah. But
yeah, no, for sure.
Drop Nuku, can you? You can't.
I don't think so, right? I think the way he's playing, he's got to be in the tickler. Will Jordan's the fullback now. That's like just written in stone. I suppose you could probably give him a run at 13 some game. Like they're going to rest and rotate guys like Bridge and Reese in particular because they played a full All Black schedule last year. We'll probably get more games off than not, certainly at the start of the season. And then there's going to be injuries and everything. Like it's a good problem to have. Jack Goodhue's not back till about Easter, they don't think. So
exactly.
And like David Havili's another one who's going to need some time off at some stage. So maybe you get Whainganuku Enoa midfield or Whainganuku McLeod even at 12, but I think he's just his form. He's going to force his way into that team, and like you sort of said, at their best, I think the best back three is Whainganuku in the 11, Reese in 14, and Will Jordan at the back.
He's just got so much versatility, Like he just showed that he could, he just can be in the right place at the right time. Can bash through when he needs to be. Just
and
he's
not just like a stereotypical like power winger who just catches the ball and puts it. He's got, like you saw with one of those tries in particular, his timing's excellent. He runs brilliant lines. He was over outside the field,
so he's obviously just good vision, good rugby brain, and
well, I think that comes from playing in the midfield as well, right? He's got that extra bit of I think he'll be amongst the tries all season. I was actually going to make him to score a try, my best bet of the week, but I don't think we've got try score odds up yet. But watch the space, because if the bookies get around to it in the next 40 minutes, that might change. But sort of on your other point there, Richard, my key takeaway was just I think the Chiefs pack is the real deal. Like that sort of the way they won that game was how I think we saw them. Not they weren't at their best, but that's the way they can be great this season, is if they just control games with their pack, and then they've got enough talent out wide. Like this was a game where they didn't even have Leonard Brown playing. They were missing a few other key All Blacks in the front row as well, but their pack can just sort of grind other teams into dust. They dominate field position, they dominate territory, and then they're just going to have enough chances that they'll make the most of it. So I think they're the ones to watch. Like if they can continue this upward trajectory with the Britallic and Kane in particular getting back to full form and bringing a few more pieces into it. Xavier Rowe was great at halfback. Like the depth they've got at halfback. Even their third string halfback, Cortez Ratum, has got huge reps on him. So I think they're going to be right there at the point end. But we all said that before the season. But it was just nice to sort of see with our eyes what we thought was going to be the case. But unfortunately, no Chiefs game this weekend because Moana Pacifica had to give some more time to recover from the COVID outbreak in the camp. So I just got the two New Zealand derbies to preview once again. We're starting off under the roof in Dunedin. No fans in the zoo, unfortunately, for this one, but got the Southern Derby, the Crusaders taking on the Highlanders. Obviously, we all remember last time these two teams clashed was that great Highlanders victory in Christchurch on, I think it was Easter Friday last year. But that hasn't deterred the bookies. They've still made the Crusaders big favourites here, 11.5 points at the time of recording, and I think that's getting bigger. The $1.20 head to head. Can the Crusaders do what the Chiefs did to the Highlanders, do you think, Richard, like with their pack, or is it going to be a bit more of a wide open game, this one?
Well, I mean, I think the Crusaders got the same pack as last week, from what I can see. I mean, there's still plenty of talent, plenty of big names in there. I think they definitely can. I mean, Crusaders probably have a bit more talent, out in that sort of, their whole back line basically. But I think with the likes of I thought the Fords probably just did their job last week. I was particularly I thought Brody McAllister had a great game. With Cody Taylor still out, still is he just all that rest?
I presume it's just all black rest, right? We haven't heard anything about an injury. So
I thought he had a great game. I thought Tom Christie was really good. And I think that they'll. I'm expecting the Highlanders to have another tough game, to be honest.
How about you, Paul? Are you equally as pessimistic about the Southerners' chances?
Yeah, you can never write the Highlanders off in a Southern derby, but I'm writing them off. I just can't see where they outmatch the Crusaders on the field. Once again, that Crusaders pack will be better for a game under their belt. We saw what the back line can do, as you say, and it's not just Whainganuku that runs good lines. The whole back line knows exactly the lines to run to put each other in the best position to either extract points or to gain over the advantage line. So just wait till Mo'unga gets back. This is just ridiculous. They just look just the complete package. And early on in the season, they all seem to be on the same page as well, which should be fairly scary for the other teams in the competition, because like most Crusaders side, I expect them to just get better and better as the season goes along. So the money's also come early on for the Crusaders. So we're seeing them move. I think they were 9.5 point favourites when this first opened at the beginning of the week. What are they now? 11 or 11 and a half. So the early money is usually a pretty good indication. So, and I'm on that as well. I think the Crusaders will be just a wee bit too strong for the Highlanders here.
Were they that convincing against the Hurricanes, really, though? Like, we were one Asafomo and knee away from the Hurricanes being up 8 points at half time. Like, they had that brilliant 15-minute spell. But yeah, like, obviously, a lot of it I thought was individual brilliance. Like, you had Will Jordan out the back every time he got his hands on the ball, just putting chaos in the Hurricanes' defensive line. But other than that, I don't know. Like,
I mean, I did note down they only played about 30 minutes of, good footy. But I think the Highlanders themselves really didn't.
Oh yeah, the Highlanders were
like the error rate was far too high. There was very little to, and I think that this whole, there's been a lot of talk about that game last year in Christchurch where the Highlanders went down and absolutely smoked them. I think there's been a lot of talk, and I think I was reading Scott Robinson said, they're fired up about that. So I think that's probably going to work against the Highlanders, and the Crusaders won't be taking them lightly. They'll know what the Highlanders are capable of. But yeah, I just think just on paper, Crusaders. I think they just look way too good.
Plus the fact that the Crusaders had less possession and less field position than the Hurricanes, I think showed that when they do get down the other end of the field, they convert that pressure into points. They did that against the Hurricanes. I think they'll have a wee bit more possession against the Highlanders, and I think they'll have better field position. And so I can see them putting on a wee bit of a score. The Highlanders won't lie down, obviously, but I just think the fact that they were able to have a 10-point victory over the Hurricanes with less possession and less field position just goes to show. I mean, perhaps if the officials had opened both eyes, it may have been a wee bit different. But once again, they just cruised along and never really looked like they were in too much trouble. There was that thing just before halftime, as you say, where the Hurricanes could have scored a try, and then the Crusaders went down the other end of the field, got a penalty, and kicked it. That's a 10-point swing just before halftime. But that's what the Crusaders do. They absorb pressure, and then they apply it, and then they turn that into points.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not crazy at all to suggest the Crusaders are going to play pretty well. But how about sort of from the Highlanders' perspective? We haven't touched too much on their performance against the Chiefs. Sort of said, it was pretty lackluster. Few mistakes there that want to be cutting out. Certainly Masusi Dawa in the right wing. They forget that one kick straight into touch. But he's been turfed out, and a couple of, I think, really promising changes they've made to their back line. The two Wellington-based double barrels, Umanga Jensen and Garden Bishop, both into the starting 15. Thomas Umanga Jensen looked enormous and was enormous when he came on with about 20 minutes. Him and Folau Fakatava sort of injected a bit of life into the Highlanders in that second half there. And then Connor Garden Bishop, who was close to best on ground in that game in Christchurch last year, we've referenced. I think that should certainly give the back line a bit of spark. He's sort of expecting a much change to Highlanders team, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, I think those smart changes there. There was two, like bring Garden Bishop and Gilbert to the right wing. I think they'll need more from Smith and Hunt. They weren't really able to do much to sort of control that game. Smith he came out quite strong, but I think he sort of as the game went on, those two sort of just struggled to control. I mean, it didn't help. They didn't have any errors and they had sort of nothing to go behind. Poor Aaron Smith getting hurdled over by Silvercooler. I see there's a lot of chat about that being illegal, so I'm interested to see if there's any ruling that comes out from there. I thought it was great to see.
Get rid of anything fun from rugby, right?
You heard the reserves like, he jumped over him.
That was very much NFL like.
Yeah,
Mm.
massively.
Well, that's what Aaron Smith tweeted after the game. He was
Yeah.
like, now I know what it feels like
To be
when the
chopped
NFL
up.
players get hurdled.
Yeah. So yeah, I think because Fakatava, having him on the bench. So I mean, there's some hope for them, but they'll just need to be so much better than they were. I think they just really got outplayed and outmuscled last week. So I'm definitely siding with the Crusaders in this one.
Yeah, no. I take it you're also like, I know you're a big Garden Bishop fan in particular, Paul, but you're not thinking these changes can really do too much to bring the Highlanders into the same field as the Crusaders.
No, I don't think so. I think the Crusaders forward pack will probably dominate, and that'll reduce the amount of opportunities that the likes of Umaga Jensen and Garden Bishop get. So, although I was impressed, especially with Garden Bishop last season, I just don't think that they're going to get enough opportunities to showcase the skills that he has and Umaga Jensen as well. So I'm siding with the money at the moment. I do like the Crusaders this weekend.
Yeah, no, like I'm not gonna put up too much of a fight. I just think the Highlanders have probably got a bit of low hanging fruit from last. So like they've got a very low base to come from. So being back under the roof as well is a bit of a positive. But yeah, it's hard to I'm not gonna.
I would have preferred to get on 9.5.
Yeah. I'm not going to tell anyone to take the 420, that's for sure. I do think the Crusaders will be winning this one, but I think it could be a pretty fun game. Even you think back to the first game of last season, they played under the roof. The Crusaders, I think, ended up winning by 12 or 14, but it was it looked like, I think they scored 2 quick tries late in the first half, and you were like, oh, the Crusaders are just going to run away with this.
Yeah.
And then the Highlanders really stuck on, and I don't think...
Even Cody Taylor scored a couple of tries.
Yeah, I don't think the Highlanders are going to have a flat spot like the Canes did, where they just concede 3 tries in 15 minutes. Like, just the way they play, that's not in their nature, whereas it is in the Hurricanes' nature. So that if the Crusaders can't dominate a game, they might not be able to get by on the individual moments, just with, I think, the Highlanders having a better defensive system overall. But yeah, it's like a lot of Crusaders games, it's a lot is going to have to go right for them to get tripped up, even without Mo'unga and Cody Taylor and co. But I think could have a more interesting game on our hands 24 hours later in Dunedin. I don't know about you two, but I'm kind of getting a bit excited about the Hurricanes' chances when they take on the Blues. I'll let you lead this conversation off, Paul, because you are notoriously level-headed and a lot like the referees. You're just an impartial observer when it comes to the Hurricanes. How are you feeling? How did you feel about their performance last week to start with?
I was encouraged by the fact that they didn't give up. That game could have got away on them after a few things went against them, and as you say, the Crusaders put a few points back to back to back. It could have had a wee bit of a domino effect, but they kept fighting. The big thing for the Hurricanes last week, where the big stars stood up. I thought Geordie Barrett was huge, and Artie Severe was also huge. They really took the game to the Crusaders. Geordie's just ridiculous. He has no sense of self-preservation.
No, the way his power running, like the way he was sort of throwing himself in defenders there in the second half in particular, was promising if you're a Hurricane fan, but also concerning because it's like, geez, you're gonna
don't get injured. Don't get injured, please. So that was a pleasing aspect of last week's game. The big boys stepping up. I guess the fact that they had more possession and field position than the Crusaders is a wee bit of a positive. The problem is they weren't able to convert that into points on most occasions. So they need to rectify that this week, and I think they will. I think they will. I think the Blues maybe just slightly underdone. It's all very well having practice, but game time is a lot more important than just practicing. Now the Blues should have had pretty much a practice run against Moana Pacifica in the first round. They've missed that, so I just think they may be just short of gallop, and I think that the Hurricanes, especially with the point start that they're getting at the moment, do look like a wee bit of value. I do like the chances of the Hurricanes this weekend, and I will be backing them.
It's good to know. How about you, Richard? Did you manage to take some positives from Saturday night as well? For the
Yeah, I mean,
Hurricanes?
as Paul said, like, I think that's the fact that Laddie and Geordie were so good. I mean, they're just like quite clear to best in the team, but the game sort of probably played out how you would have expected. You know, they put up a fight, but then, as you said, there's sort of that 15, 20 minutes where they just let the Crusaders run away with it, and they didn't give up, scored a couple of tries at the end. So I think they'll come into this game, having that hit out, knowing the Blues haven't had that hit out. I hope they stick with Ruben Love at 10. You know, he had a few little errors, but I thought on the whole, like, it was a really positive game for him.
Once he stopped kicking the ball straight to Will Jordan, I think that improved. There was a couple of kicks. You're like, I don't want to be doing that, Ruben.
But I mean, I think that, like, you know, he scored that try. You know, and
there was when they sort of got a bit of momentum going that late in the first half there, and him and Geordie were working really well. And he was popping into the back line outside Geordie.
So I don't mind them with the start, to be honest. I think Umaga Jensen probably didn't have his greatest game, but we know what he's capable of. So if he can kind of put that behind him,
greatest game is simply true.
That midfield defence really needs tightening up.
I don't know what's the story with Tay Walden, but maybe we'll see him get a run this week, because I think he would bring a lot of leadership and sort of solidity to that midfield. But I don't know if Umaga Jensen Proctor midfield isn't necessarily the answer defensively.
I mean, I'm excited about seeing that Blues backline. I imagine they'll sort of play most of the big guns at least.
Do we know if Bowden's playing? I can't find any news, because he was obviously not going to play last week.
I wouldn't be surprised.
There hasn't been enough official update. So
the fact that the likes of sort of Moanga and there's a few players that haven't come back, so we'll see. But that'd be huge. I mean, I imagine Peter Fito would play.
Harry Plummer still doing his thing.
So they've got. I think that Blues 4-pack's really going to be the death of them this season, and we might see that this week. I mean, Hurricanes 4-pack also probably not the strongest in the comp, but I think we're in for an exciting game.
For sure. And like you sort of touched on there already, Paul, but I think just having that competition game under the belts already is going to be huge for the Hurricanes.
Massive.
Like, it is, the preseason is one thing, but actually getting a proper hit out against the defending champs, like a really strong side, you get it. Like Booth and Love in the halves had never played a game together as far as, so like getting the opportunity to work on a few of those combinations. He always plays well. He's a great player.
And I don't know whether he'll play whether TJ's back or not, but
TJ's out for a month.
Oh, he's out for a month. There you go. I think it's promising. I thought he had a pretty solid game.
I think certainly just those a few new combination there, and then you look at the Blues. Like, I don't know, we don't have the teams at time of recording, but if it is like a Plummer or Perifeta, RTS, Rika Ioane midfield, like, that's not a group of players that have played a lot of rugby together. So there could be, like we were talking about, the Hurricanes' defensive issues in the midfield, like Umaga Jensen and Billy Proctor, whoever do get the run, and they're certainly capable of causing defensive issues for other midfields. So, like, if it's RTS's first game of union in a while, that could be a bit sticky for them there. They'll probably score plenty of points, but being under the roof, it could. I think the Hurricanes will back themselves to. Especially with like guys like Artie and Geordie, you don't want to be having defensive breakdowns, because they were like Artie. It seems like the second he spots any gap this season, he's just going to go for it. So, I'm cautiously optimistic. The only thing, like, sort of from a Blues perspective, though, they've won 4 of 5 against the Hurricanes since Bowden left, and like all 4 wins have been pretty convincing by at least 9 points. From those meetings, Paul, do you think there's something just about the way these two teams match up that styles make fights that lean towards the Blues, that favour them? Anything you can think of?
I think it's not unlike rugby league, where the teams that have the best spine, the 1, the 6, 7, and 9, usually come out on top. And I think when Bowden was playing for the Canes, we outmatched them in terms of having a better 9-10 than the Blues. It sort of turned around in the last 4 or 5 meetings, but I think the fact that Ruben Love's there now, and the more he plays, the better he'll get, and the better the chances of the Hurricanes, I think. So I think we're about to see a wee bit of a turn. I'd love to see TJ playing as well, because I think that experience inside him would really help Ruben Love's game immensely. So when TJ does come back, look for a big improvement in not just the Hurricanes' chances of winning games, but the performance of Ruben Love. I think TJ will take a lot of pressure off him, and I think Ruben will be able to express himself a wee bit more than what he will be with a halfback less experienced than TJ. And to be fair, there's not too many halfbacks going around at the moment that have more experience than TJ. So that'll be a big plus when he gets back. So I'm still encouraged by the way they went in the first week, and the fact they've had a game, the Blues haven't, and they'll be able to iron out a few things. Hopefully that midfield will be slightly more solid in defense than they were against the Crusaders. And if they do pick up slightly in that department, I could see the Hurricanes going very, very close.
Yeah, sure. I think like the odds are probably a bit wider than I saw when they opened. The Canes were 6.5 point underdogs, and I looked at it, I'd love just to get the full converted try. That would, and now it's out to 8.5. So that certainly makes it look pretty appealing. We'll get to official bets later on, but are we also maybe in a bit more of agreement here, leaning the way of the underdog?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, we'll circle back to best bets in the moment. Is there anything else you two want to touch on from the New Zealand conference before we hop across the Tasman momentarily?
And it's just great to see them all back, and I think interested to see how the Blues go this weekend, and whether they can sort of prove they're the real deal, which I'm not sold on yet, but hey, we'll see.
Just hoping Moana Pacifica can get a team together on the field in the next week or so. Really
long season for them, man.
Oh boy,
just in time for their clash with the Crusaders, which they're scheduled for next week, Moana Pacifica. But it's getting to the stage where it's going to be tough to make these games up, but we really want to see them out because they're going to bring a lot of excitement to. Just quickly before we do go, I wasn't actually too disappointed by the Drill's performance. Obviously, the scoreboard was pretty ugly, but you sort of look at the actual try scoring opportunities they created. They were on attack a lot in the first half, and then you had the Jake Gordon intercept try, which sort of made things look a bit uglier than they maybe were. Yeah, I like the Waratahs defended pretty well. The set piece is going to be an issue. Like they were getting demolished at scrum time for a lot of that game. But yeah, I think there was certainly promising signs that you maybe wouldn't take from looking at the score, a big loss to the Waratahs like that. But yeah, I'm going to be pretty optimistic about the Drua.
I want to stay optimistic for the Drua because I mean it's good to see them get a try so they can kind of they've got that under the belt, and they'll have a few hard games coming up.
Because they were very static in attack in the first half. It didn't seem like they were flowing that well. Maybe the nerves did get the best of them, and there was no real back. And then they got a bit of shape in attack in the second half and started getting the ball wide and sort of hitting the line hard. And they looked good. Like you
try that's what you love to see. A quick 5 minutes out there.
And their second five in particular, I think, looked really dangerous ball in hand. So hopefully it's going to be a tough task against the Brumbies in Canberra this week. But there'll be a Rebels game in a couple of weeks they can target, I'm sure. Right. Do you want to kick us off? We'll just go quickly through each of the Australian games this week. Do you want to kick us off on Friday night with the Waratahs Reds game, Paul?
Yeah. I think the bookies have overreacted to the performance of the Waratahs on the weekend. I see they're currently 270 head-to-head to win that game, and the Reds are $1.42. I'm all over the Reds here. I really, really do like the look of them. I thought the way that they performed against the Rebels in conditions that weren't really conducive to running rugby, I guess they're unlike the Canes. When they got down the other end of the field, they pretty much turned that field position into points. I think McDermott and O'Connor are the best 9-10 combo on the Australian side of the Super Rugby this season. I like the look of their fullback, Jock Campbell. He's got some silky skills. Tani Alatupo, who scored a try and then spent a few minutes in the bin.
On the world's smallest chair.
Yeah.
But I think the major thing for the Reds is Brad Thorne. He's
Mm.
just totally changed the culture there, and you can see it. Someone like O'Connor, who just seems to have matured so much in the last year or so, and I think Brad Thorne has a lot to do with that. So I really, really do like the chances of the Reds this weekend. I can't believe they're only. I think they were 6.5-point favourites yesterday. They're now 5.5-point favourite. I can't believe the money's coming for the Tars. So I'm really happy with the Reds head to head and also at the start. I just think they might just roll right over the top of this Waratahs team.
It does seem very generous considering like the Waratahs are obviously improved, but the 2 games last season the Reds won 41-7 and 46-14. So like you got a long way to come back from to cover those sort of margins when you're only 5.5-point underdogs.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't know. It looks like a late Christmas present for mine.
Good to know.
I was very surprised to see that myself, Paul. It might come up in my bidding later on.
Yeah. Sounds good. Do you want to run us through the next game on the Aussie slate, Rissy?
Yeah, so we're Brumbies Drua Saturday afternoon at GIO Stadium. We've sort of touched on the Drua. It was the score was disappointing, but maybe wasn't reflective of how the game played out. The line on this is 28.5, which seems a little bit high for me. I mean, they obviously lost by 30 points last week to the Waratahs, so we hadn't won in like 500 days or something. But I don't think the Brumbies weren't great. They were far from convincing, and they only got that last minute, 79th minute try to get the win in the end, and I think they were losing at halftime as well. I think the Drua will have learned a lot from the game last week, and like I'll probably be I'll be taking them on the plus there. I think plus 28.5. The line's just too big, you know. So many variables, weather and all that sort of thing. The one issue will be probably for the Drua will be stopping the Brumbies line-out drive.
Yes.
We saw that the Brumbies were very good at the line-out drive, and the Drua their set piece looked a bit messy. So if they can kind of get a bit of control on that, it'll be good to see them hopefully get a few points. And but yeah, no, I think I'll be taking the plus in that game because. Yeah, it's a huge line, and I know there's plenty of talent in that Drua team. There's definitely points to be scored, so I think they can keep it a bit close this week.
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
Have you got any thoughts on this one before we move on, Paul?
Yeah, I do think the Drua will get better as the season progresses. I think those combinations will start coming together. They'll get a wee bit of confidence as well. I'm just not sure it's going to be this week though. Just the way that the Brumbies play. Now I know it's a hefty start, but just the way the Brumbies play, I think they can frustrate the Drua out of this one, keeping the ball away from them. And if they do that, I just think the frustration levels will build within the Drua, and we just may see this one get away from them. So I'm not going to have a bet on this game. Well, I will have a bet on this game, but it's not going to. It's just more an interest type bet. But I'm sort of siding with the Brumbies here. They got a wee bit of a fright against the Force last weekend, and I can see them shutting down the shop and saying, "This is our ball. You're not going to have it." And if you starve the Drua of possession, I think you can really put a few points on them. So, yeah, no, not a lot of confidence, but I like the Brumbies at the start.
Yeah, just looking at the weather forecast here, it looks like it's going to be absolutely hosing down in Canberra on Saturday. So that might help the Drua keep it close, if nothing else. But I think the Brumbies you could see sometimes in the NFL, you see these games where this one team just calls the same play over and over because the other team can't stop it. They know what's coming, and like and we might see a bit of that with the Brumbies. Like they won't need to sort of run out the full playbook here to win, especially after they did get a bit of a scare from the Force when they maybe chanced their arm more than they needed to. I could see them just sort of going back to basics and a lot of playing for territory and then winning penalties and line out drives. So I presume Fainga's starting at hooker for them, or whoever is, I'll be backing to score a double and probably a triple as well. Just
I think Lonergan can get a double off.
Yeah. Might have to get some same game multis lined up there with both hookers to score or something. Classic pick and go sort of stuff. But I think probably not going to be the most inspiring game of rugby. Hopefully the Drua can. I think nothing else, you want to see them just string together a few more impressive backline moves. So for later in the season, we see if they can start scoring some more points. But yeah, that pretty much sums me up on that one. I've taken charge on the last game of the round now that we won't have any footy on Sunday. It's the Rebels taking the Force on in Melbourne on Saturday night, 9:45 New Zealand time kickoff. Yeah, the Rebels, they were like, I don't know, fake competitive, I'm going to call it, against the Reds last week. The scoreline didn't look too bad, but I never really felt like they were a chance of actually winning the thing. The Reds had them pretty comfortably at arm's length the whole time. And it was pretty horrible conditions there for most of the second half. So also interesting to see for the Rebels as well. They've given up on the Carter Gordon experiment after 1 week at 10. Not sure, given up might be strong, but Matt Tomoa has been chucked back into the 10 jersey. Seems like a bit of a conservative move from the coach, maybe. Just, I don't know what if he's just thinks Gordon's not ready against the top tier Australian sides, and certainly if he's not playing him there, what's he going to do against New Zealand teams? But it seems like a bit of a backwards move, especially when you compare it to the Force. So Reece John Pasatoa, who played for 10 for them against the Brumbies, I thought was very impressive, and good to see they've taken the handbrake off a little bit after last season, where they were sort of a pretty doer side in Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. They relied on their defence a lot. They've got a few weapons in their backline now between Mud Ailey and Tony Pulu on the wings. Richard Kahu's still doing some good defensive work there as well. So yeah, I actually this was another one. I was very surprised to see the Force at $1.97 underdogs here. I think they were the much more impressive of the two teams in week one. Obviously, it's in Melbourne, but it's not the Burnaby or something home field advantage wise at Amy Park there or whatever they're calling it these days. So I could easily see the Force going down there and tripping up the Rebels. I'm pretty keen to take them at close to even money. That's for sure. Yeah,
I think I'm with you there. I think they were a more convincing team last week, and Rebels kind of.
It was a very and you sort of saw it in the post-match press conference afterwards. Michael Wellesley, captain, was clearly not very impressed with maybe the effort, or he's saying they need to stop making excuses. But they need to add a bit more to their attacking foray in particular. I think if they're going to really threaten these top teams, because the Reds, the scoreline was closer different, but you never really got the sense that they were worried about actually losing the game.
No.
Yeah. All right, should we move on to best bets then? Time to get some picks on the record.
Yeah, sounds good.
What's your best bet for Super Rugby Pacific this week?
Reds -6.5, $1.85. Yeah, I just think that massive overreaction to that Waratahs win. The two games last year were won by 32 and 34 points by the Reds. So I think it's 5.5 now, isn't it? Yeah, 5.5 now. Yeah, so very happy to take that. It's best bet.
Nice one. And how about you, Paul? What's your best bet for Super Rugby Pacific this week?
Reds head-to-head, $1.42.
Oh, geez, got a bit of value there.
You sure it's not your value bet?
Gone wider than we usually do for a best bet.
That's my best bet. Get in there.
I'm going to go Force head-to-head, $1.97. I think that's great value. I just, not at all impressed by the Rebels. And I think the Force might have a little bit about them this season. I'm going to be, I'm going to have to watch them again this week, and hopefully they confirm my suspicions, because I'll be, I'm going to back the Force. How about, this will be exciting, Paul. You got a bit of value for the punters?
Reds -5.5. There you go.
Oh, good on you. Always appreciate your commitment to the brand. How about you, Richard? What's your value?
Reds 11-20 at $4.20. Just think like that 11-20. Normally your Crusaders bet, but I think they'll win by a few. But I don't know. Waratahs look like a better team than last year, but I think the Reds are still a lot better on paper. So at 4.20, very nice.
Nice, yeah. The Waratahs set piece is going to have a much sterner test this week than it did last week as well, I think.
Yeah.
Mine is 11-20 Crusaders. playing the hits like we see. I'm giving the Highlanders a chance to at least make things interesting. And this is
look at that.
This is more of a. I don't think they're winning by more than 20. I think the Highlanders at least keep it close enough to cover that. So, and at 370, I think it's a pretty good bet there. I'll lead us off with the upset alert. I'm putting the Blues on upset alert. My best underdog this week is the Hurricanes at 330. How about you, Richard?
Yeah, ditto.
Well, who's your best underdog this week, Paul?
Ding ding.
Canes? Good.
Yep.
Trigger?
Oh, there it goes.
We've just given them the kiss of death.
As you do. How about, obviously, a couple of promos running on Super Rugby again this week. We've got bonus back on every game, I believe, where if you place a pre-match winning team and margin bet and you get the right team but the wrong margin, we'll refund you up to $50 a bonus bet. And then there's the Overball Mega Multi-Buster, which we'll get to Six Nations in a second, but you can chuck in any rugby game in there. Rugby League as well. I think Super League's going on. 4 League multi missed by 1, refund up to 50. 6 League multi missed by 2. 8 League multi missed by 3. You know the story. But what's your favourite bonus back bet for the week, Paul?
I'm going to go Crusaders 1 to 12. Look, this could very well be a bit of a blowout in Crusaders 13 and over, and that's where the money's gone so far in that winning team and margin book for the Crusaders Highlanders game. I'm just going to go 1 to 12. I just get the feel the Highlanders may get like a wee bit of a backdoor cover at some late in the game when the Crusaders are out by 17 or something, or a comfortable lead with only 2 minutes on the left to go on the clock. I just think the Highlanders might sneak a little try late in the game just to make it a wee bit closer than probably it should be. So Crusaders 1 to 12 for mine.
Nice one. And what's your bonus back pick, Richard?
The other side of that, Crusaders 13 plus. So
nice.
I think that they will. Yeah, pretty sure that they'll win. And I don't know if it'll be a blowout, but I can imagine it being somewhere in that sort of 13 to probably 25 points. So
I'm going Reds 13 plus. I think this is a great bonus bet game because you're very confident the Reds are going to win. Yeah, and you've at least got that insurance there, so that's what I'm doing. How about what's your multi-anchor, Paul? What's going on all your multi-busters?
Brumbies $1.
You've got to be at least $1.20 to be eligible for the promo, so can't slip that one by us.
Well, I was going to say the Reds $1.42. I'm quite happy to stick with that actually, but I'll take the Crusaders $1.20. I don't mind either of those two games. In fact, that'll be my little Friday night double up, Crusaders and Reds head to head. But for the multi-anchor, you could either have the Reds at $1.42 or the Crusaders at $1.20. Doesn't really bother me.
It's a nice little start to your multis. That gets you $1.70. Then
and you probably want to get in early with the Crusaders because the money is obviously already on. So it might sneak under $1.20 anytime soon.
That happened last week. Me and Carl both chucked the Reds and Brumbies and all our multis, and then they were, I think, $1.15 by the time we actually published the podcast. So, how about you, Richard? Who's going in all your multis?
It's probably the same as Paul. I had both the Crusaders and Reds at $1.70 kind of circled. Definitely Crusaders $1.20, and I'm very confident in the Reds as well. So to get those two for $1.70, could it's a nice little base, and find another couple from the other games or the Six Nations, and you're away laughing.
Sure, yeah. No, I'm going Reds. It's like just think it's really good value, $1.42. Great little start to your multis. Probably going to have the Crusaders in there. Actually, I might chuck a little try scorer from the early game, and then maybe a Whanganuku once I see the odds. But the Reds will be in everything for me. And so just for the official tip and comp this season, just so it's easy to track and not too complicated, I'm just going to go quick fire, and we're just going to pick all 5 games at the line at the time of recording. Just pull up the right page here, so no need to give justifications or anything for this. We've already discussed all the games, but 11.5 Highlanders Crusaders. What side are you on, Paul?
It's a tough one.
Remember when I said quick fire like 14 seconds ago?
Oh, gee.
It's on the sheet. Yeah. You should have it written down.
I'm feeling a lot of hate coming from that studio at the moment, but I'm going to go Highlanders plus 11. I think the lines move far enough for me to take the Highlanders. Taking Highlanders plus 11.5.
Thank you for that. How about you, Richard?
Yeah, the line was 9.5 when I wrote it, but I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, Crusaders minus 11.5.
But it also says on the sheet at time of recording.
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah.
I'm on the -11.5 because it's going to be much less stressful being on the minus than the plus.
Yeah.
Waratahs, Reds 5.5. Are we all on the -5.5 here?
Reds.
Yeah. So, 28.5 Canberra Saturday afternoon. Drua, what side are you on, Richard?
Sign me up for the plus.
Plus Paul.
Brumbies.
Yeah,
Minus.
Going to take the minus as well. Are we all on +8.5 for the Hurricanes?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then the Lions just force plus 0.5. Anyone taking the river?
I'll take the Force.
All on the force?
Force, yeah.
So, cool. That does us for Super Rugby Pacific for week 2. But before we finish up, I know Paul wants to touch on the Six Nations because he won a kebab thanks to Wales a couple of weeks ago. We're running a little side book on whether he gets that before the protesters leave town. But I'll make sure that gets paid to you sometime in the medium term future. Congratulations, Paul.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. I just like I thought the Welsh at home and then Scotland coming off that huge emotional high of beating the Poms. I just thought it was not quite a perfect storm, but just a game where there could be a big swing in sort of in my opinion, in the chances of both teams. So I was happy to take the Welsh there, and it was fairly close, but they got it done in the end.
Yeah, very frustrating watch from a Scottish side of a lot of kicking the ball away in very, very questionable circumstances. But full credit to Wales. That was a mighty defensive effort, especially with Dan Bigger playing on one leg the whole second half and like refusing to go off. That was a huge effort.
He nailed it. Absolutely nailed that droppy aim
from Wales there. I don't know if there's anything really to take away from the other game 2 weeks ago with France putting on a bit of a show against Ireland coming back into it, but just great test, I thought.
Entertaining,
really.
It was.
I sort of woke up about 15 minutes in and checked Twitter, and it was blowing up because of that crazy first 10 minutes.
The Matt Hansen try, yeah.
So that it was a great test. Yeah, really good footy, and I was on Ireland, so I was disappointed, but kudos to France, played well. Yeah,
the pass and Tamak did he throw it for the first try about a minute in as well?
God,
that was just the French backline when they're on song are just an absolute treat to watch. So I'm very excited to watch them against Scotland this week. I think that actually is the first game that I'm just going all over the TRB website.
Scotland, France.
Yeah, Scotland, France. That's kicking us off. 3:15 Sunday morning New Zealand time. The Scots just shy of $3, $2.95 head to head, and
6.5 points.
6.5 in the point start market. Are you taking the Scots on again here, Paul?
I'm taking the plus 6.5. Back to Scotland again. I think that will lift them once again. This will throw the overall competition into a whole disarray if the Scots get up and beat the French here. Everyone sort of gets back in with a chance. I'm not so sure they can do it, but I certainly think they can keep it fairly close. I think once again, emotionally, they'll be able to get up for this game. They'll have the crowd behind them, and the French will be coming off that win over the Irish. And I think coming into here and thinking, we may just have to turn up to pick up the points here, and they may get a wee bit of a rude awakening. So I think Scotland plus 6.5 isn't the worst bet this weekend.
That's interesting. Have you got any strong thoughts on these ones?
I'm going to start with Paul here, actually. When I first looked at this game, I was all over France, and then I just sort of thought about it back at Murrayfield. They've won 3 straight versus France at Murrayfield, and they've won 3 of the last 4 overall. So Scotland have. So Scotland have had the better of France recently, and I think they'll be disappointed about that Welsh game and be happy to be home. They've had the extra week off. And my strategy, Six Nations so far, has been to back Scotland and to bet against France, and it's worked once and not worked once. So I'm going back. I'm sticking to it. Scotland plus 6.5, and I wouldn't even mind a little. $2.95 for the wins, but I don't know. But I'm happy. I think it'll be a tight one, and it's always hard to play at Murrayfield. That's for sure.
Yeah. I do want to be cautious about overreacting here because I've got Scotland wrong both games, but just the game against England was a really good defensive effort. They kept England in check pretty well, but they didn't have a lot of the ball against Wales, they didn't want any of the ball. They kept kicking it away for some reason. I don't know if there was a substance on the ball that was smelled bad and they didn't like. But I just think you can't, against this France team, you can't give them that much ball and expect to live and see another day, because they will score sooner rather than later when you keep giving. So yeah, I think France are a decent bet here. I like the -6.5. Just get inside that converted try. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm a bit scared off betting on Scotland games now after the last two showings. But yeah, if forced to pick, I would take the minus there.
Makes me feel good about the fact I'm on Scotland.
Yeah, for sure.
One of us had to get off.
Yeah. No, I just like watching France play, so I'm happy to beat them. But the other probably consequential game we won't touch too much on Ireland Italy, because I think Italy are going to be lucky to get 0 in that game.
What are they paying here?
$41. Chuck them in a multi with a draw. But yeah, no, we will head to Twickenham though and touch quickly on the second game on Sunday morning, 5:45 New Zealand kickoff time for England taking on a resurgent Wales. So the big story is Manu Tuolagi's back in the midfield for England. It looks like going to play his first Six Nations game in 2 years, I think. So interesting to see what that does to England. Marcus Smith obviously was very impressive against Italy. I saw him compared to Tom Brady, Johnny Wilkinson, Bowden Barrett, and about 5 other people on social media. So yeah, who do you think he's going to be being compared to after this game, Paul?
Nelson Mandela. I don't know. Fair dinkum. It's ridiculous.
The Tom Brady one was great. That was a very serious British paper comparing this 20-year-old's first 5 to yeah. I digress. Yeah, are you ±14.5? I think it is. Got any leans here?
I'll take the Palms -14.5. I think Tuilangi just makes a huge difference to that English team, and they'll be able to score a few points with him, and he'll be the focus of that offense. And I'm sure they'll build a lot of momentum around him. So he's already had a gallop for, was it the Sale Sharks in the Premiership? He looked pretty good there. So I think he'll just slide straight in there. And I can see the Poms scoring quite a few tries out wide, because the defense is just getting sucked in to try and contain Tuilangi in the centres. So yeah, -14.5 for me.
Sione Tuipulotu had plenty of joy against Wales for Scotland last week. He was probably one of Scotland's best performers with that sort of hard running from second 5 as well. So you can see Tuilangi doing the same sort of thing. Any thoughts on this one, Richard?
I'll take the +14.5. I think it's quite a few points. I just had a wee look at the historic, the history between these two teams. You'd have to go, if this was a line in every game, you'd have to go back to 2006 to have to find a game that England had actually won by 14.5 or more. So Wales have won 3 of the last 6 against England. So I know there's a few key outs and all that, but also key outs of both teams. Read somewhere that Faletau might be returning. So
yeah, that's what I'm just checking.
It sounds like he might slip back in there. Josh Adams will be playing. It sounds like Louis Rees-Zammit has been sort of put back to club footy, which is interesting. He was one of the sort of finds of last season. And but yeah, it's a big line. I probably won't be taking. I won't be taking the 4.85 head-to-head, but to get a 2 converted try sort of point start, I don't mind that at all. So. If Faletau does return, I think that'll be huge, and I'd be happy to take that plus there.
Yeah, I think I'll slight lean to the minus. I could see England. I think if they get going, I think Wales could sort of fall apart like they did against Ireland. Like that, they were really good when they were in the fight against Scotland. But if things aren't going their way, I could see maybe England would want to be sending a bit of a message after a pretty poor start to the tournament. So I don't think they'll take the foot off the gas, being an old rival at Twickenham. But yeah, not a game I'm overly excited to have a bet on, that's for sure. So I think that pretty much does us for the week of rugby. Thank you once again for joining us, fellas. Got through plenty there. Lots for the punters to chew on as we head into a big weekend of footy, and we'll be back in 7 days' time, breaking it all down, cursing more teams, and doing plenty of other stuff. So talk to you all then. Cheers, fellas.
Go the Hurricanes.
Yeah. Go.